Before April 26, 1956, moving a single ton of cargo onto a ship cost $5.86. After that day, it cost 16 cents. That's not a minor efficiency gain. That's a 97% collapse in the cost of moving anything anywhere on Earth. And it happened because of a metal box. To understand why this mattered, you need to understand what shipping looked like before. For 3,000 years, from the Phoenicians to the 1950s, loading a cargo ship worked essentially the same way. Dock workers, called longshoremen, would move every single item by hand. Barrels of wine, crates of machinery, bolts of fabric, each one lifted, carried, secured. A ship might spend weeks in port. The goods sitting idle were constantly being pilfered. Cargo theft was so pervasive, it was simply factored into the cost of doing business. Shipping was slow, expensive, and leaky in every sense of the word. The man who changed all of this was not a shipping magnate. He was a truck driver from North Carolina named Malcolm McLean. One L in Malcolm, which matters because the man was particular about details. He'd built one of the largest trucking companies in America from scratch, starting with a single used truck during the Great Depression. And he had a simple, maddening observation. Every time his trucks reached a port, the cargo had to be unloaded, handled, reloaded, and the truck sat idle for days. The process was identical to what ancient Romans would have recognized. McLean's idea was radical in its simplicity. Don't move the cargo, move the box. In 1956, he borrowed $22 million, bought 2 World War II tanker ships, stripped their decks, and fitted them with metal platforms. On April 26th, a crane lifted 58 steel boxes onto the deck of a ship called the Ideal X and sailed from Newark, New Jersey to Houston, Texas. It took 8 hours to load. Before containerization, that same volume would have taken days. When container ships around the world blew their whistles the morning of McLean's funeral in 2001, they were saluting the man Forbes magazine called one of the few men who changed the world. So, what exactly is a shipping container? And what makes it so powerful? Think of it this way. A standard shipping container is a 20 or 40-foot steel box, roughly the width of a London bus and twice as long. But its genius isn't its size, it's its standardization. Every container on Earth shares the same corner castings, 4 reinforced steel fittings, 1 at each corner, that allow any container to lock onto any ship, any train, any truck chassis, anywhere in the world. This was the breakthrough the International Organization for Standardization made official in 1961. Before that, containers existed in various forms. After that, they became interchangeable, and that interchangeability was everything. Every container begins its life in a factory. Over 95% of the world's shipping containers are manufactured in China, made from a special type of steel called corten, also known as weathering steel, which forms a protective, rust-like patina when exposed to the elements, rather than corroding through. The steel is cut into corrugated panels. The corrugation isn't decorative, it's structural, multiplying the steel's load-bearing strength without adding weight. The panels are welded into a frame, fitted with hardwood floors and rubber-sealed doors, then painted with a toxic anti-fouling compound to survive saltwater crossings. From the factory, a container enters what the industry calls intermodal transit. The same box, without being opened, travels by truck from a factory floor to a rail yard, by train to a port, by crane onto a container ship, across an ocean, back onto a crane, back onto a train, back onto a truck, to a warehouse, or straight to a store. Modern port cranes can move up to 70 containers per hour. The largest ships sailing today carry 24,000 containers. That's a carrying capacity equivalent to a freight train 44 miles long. One ship, one voyage. Enough toothbrushes to supply a small nation. A container at sea survives for 10 to 12 years before it's retired from marine service. But retirement doesn't mean death. Moved ashore, properly maintained, a container can last another 25 years, as storage, as construction, as architecture. There are an estimated 17 million retired containers sitting in ports around the world right now. Buildings, clinics, homes. The box outlives its original mission by decades. Here is the number that should stop you in your tracks. Over 90% of everything you own arrived somewhere on a container ship. Your phone, your furniture, your medication, the food in your refrigerator. The container didn't just change shipping, it changed what it was possible to own and where it was possible to make things. Before the container, geography was fate. You made things near where people lived because moving goods long distances was prohibitively expensive. After the container, geography became optional. As one shipping executive put it doesn't matter anymore where you produce something because transport costs aren't important. That single sentence explains the offshoring of American manufacturing, the rise of China as the world's factory, the creation of just-in-time supply chains that treat the entire planet as a single warehouse. Total world exports increased more than 65 times between the post-war era and today, from $384 billion to $25 trillion. The shipping container is not the only reason, but economists at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis have argued it is among the most decisive. The fragility of this system became brutally visible in March 2021, when the Ever Given container ship, carrying 20,000 boxes, ran aground in the Suez Canal and blocked it for 6 days. The cost? An estimated $9.6 billion per day, $400 million per hour, $6 million per minute. One ship, 6 days, and shelves emptied across 3 continents. Then came the pandemic. Port congestion in Los Angeles and Long Beach in 2021 saw over 100 container ships anchored offshore, waiting to unload. Lead times on everyday goods stretched from weeks to months. The world discovered in real time just how tightly wound the container system had become and how catastrophically it could unravel. And now something new is happening, something most people haven't noticed yet. China manufactures over 95% of the world's shipping containers. Chinese state-owned enterprises control approximately 27% of global container terminal capacity. And a single Chinese company, ZPMC, manufactures nearly 70% of the giant port cranes used at U.S. ports. In 2024, a congressional investigation found communications equipment embedded in those cranes. Equipment that could, in theory, monitor the movement of every container passing through American ports. By 2025, shipping had crossed a line, from neutral commerce into geopolitical instrument, where trade routes doubled as strategic terrain and commercial vessels carried national consequence. The U.S. enacted executive orders declaring maritime dominance a matter of national security. The Hormuz crisis paralyzed energy shipping for weeks. The Red Sea became a live fire zone for commercial cargo. The humble box McLean invented to save time at a New Jersey port has become the central nervous system of the global economy and the central battlefield of the next great power competition. Whoever controls the containers controls the flow of civilization itself. Somewhere right now, a 20-foot steel box is crossing the Pacific. It left a factory in Guangdong 30 days ago. In 5 more days, it will be emptied on a loading dock in Rotterdam, repacked by a truck driver in Stuttgart, and its contents will sit on a shelf in a supermarket in Birmingham. It weighs 2.5 tons empty. It will make this journey, or one like it, hundreds of times. And when it finally can't make the journey anymore, when the salt has done enough damage and the seals won't hold, it will become someone's home. The box doesn't stop moving. It just changes what it carries.